Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and this is day 9 of hashtag AJ Snark Attack 2020. This is an event brought to you by the Art Joy of Sharing Facebook art community. It is a daily art journaling challenge, and I'm doing a video daily. So this is day 9. This journal is a product made by Ranger where you can make your own planners, and it's a little tall, skinny journal. The Dilutions Dialogue journal, which is made out of manila cardstock. And I have this stencil. I'm not sure whose stencil it is. It might actually be a Dilution stencil. It's an old one that had the shape of bricks, kind of. And I wanted to use that to go with my quote today, which is home where the pants are stretchy and the Wi-Fi's free. I just thought, I thought about brick and, a little brick bungalow where you hang out and you feel warm and cozy. So I started out with this, the Crafter's Workshop modeling paste that's tinted a metallic copper. And after the fact, I decided what I really should have done was to paint the page black and then do the textural molding paste, which I did through the stencil with a silicone brush. And I decided I would just paint over the whole thing with some black gesso. This is the golden black gesso, and it is not sandy. So if you've tried the black gesso from, like, say, Liquitex, and it's sandy and you don't like that one, this one's much better. Also, it's completely opaque and matte when it's dry. So after I had painted over the whole thing, then I wanted to do some dry brushing with some copper paint to bring that copper color and the texture back. The texture is obviously there, but when it's painted black, you can't really see it. Um, so I decided to take a stiff brush and do some dry brushing over that texture to bring it back with copper paint. And then I also did a little bit of the same type of thing over the top with a little bit of white gesso to try to hit the highlights. Um, my brush got a little bit too wet there, but you can see what it brings out, that texture, because the brush, the dry brush, just glides over the top of the texture and hits it and brings out some, looks there. Next, I decided it might be kind of fun to do some dripping with some fluid paints. So I got out my box of Golden High Flow paint. This is a thin, watery paint, but still has as much pigment as the regular paint would. And so I had some magenta and some teal. I'm using a little bit of water and then kind of shaking and tapping the book to get some interesting, I don't know, it was a brick wall, and then I thought about spray paint, and I thought about kind of a graffiti look. I don't know where I was going with it. I just wanted more color. So I put magenta and teal, and then I got out some white and added a little bit of that here and there for kind of like a highlight. And then I also used a little bit of the black high flow paint as well and some water for dripping. When you're working in your art journal, the idea is that you're just messing around with stuff. You maybe have something in mind that you might want at the end, but ultimately it is an experimentation and practice that you're doing when you're doing art journaling. So sometimes you come out with something that's awesome. Sometimes you come out with something that you're like, meh, that's not that cool. But the the idea is the process of it. So that's why we're doing it, and doing it every day, developing a habit of doing something creative every day. Our skills and our creative process and everything about it will make us better. Also, more relaxed and more creative. So, yeah, that's why we're doing this daily challenge and giving you some quotes that you can use in your art journals to just encourage you to get it out and do something with it and play. That's what it's all about. So in the same box as my high flows, I had these Sennelier abstract writers, which is kind of like a, well, it reminds me of those tulip paints that uh, used to be out where you could draw with them, squeeze and draw. It's got that same type of a tip, but it's acrylic paint. It's a heavy body acrylic paint. And I decided I just wanted to do some intuitive painting, some mark making and messing around with these painters. They do leave a texture that, a raised up texture. So I did blend them out, some of them spaces a little bit out so that they would be flatter to the page. I'm building up a lot of stuff on this. It's got a lot of layers and texture. And you run your hand across it, it's quite textured. So I was about done with that. I added a little bit more white, and then I also am doing a little bit of finger painting, bringing some of that copper back in with my fingers, going over the texture with the copper metallic paint. Copper's the best metallic. I like it the best of all of them. And I still had my quote and had to do something to, I could just use this background and slap the quote on it and be done, but I decided I would go a little bit further than that. I decided to make a little fun, wonky house out of some uh, paper that had some paint on it. The other day when I was gel printing and doing those different things with these colored paints, I had taken the excess paint and spread it off onto this under paper, which is like a newsprint. And then I had some dirty stencils and I was cleaning off the stencil as well. And I got some kind of interesting paper, so I decided to use it because it was in the same colors, orange, teal, those type of colors that I had used in the background. This piece has got some of that kind of limey green on it. It's a little bit more orange tone than the one in the background, but it doesn't really matter. It's close enough. So I cut out my little house. I cut out some windows, some doors, a roof, a chimney um, out of these papers. And I'm not trying to be precise. In fact, I'm trying not to be precise. Trying to be just, whimsical and wonky. And yeah, that's more fun than trying to make a perfect squares, perfect circles, perfect everything. It's more fun to just go chop, chop, chop with your scissors and be done with it. So I'm using a Yoo-hoo glue stick to glue down all my pieces. And I decided to make a tree and a fence next to my house. It reminds me of a child's drawing, but since it's mixed media and has, layers and whatever, it's maybe not as childlike, but that idea of whimsy and childishness and play is what I'm going for here. My fence turned out to be pink because I wanted to bring in some of that pink color. And I made a little tree with some of that same green and kind of an orangey brown that was on there. It's really more orange than brown. And just gluing them all down with my glue stick. I also made just like a little smoke thing out of, and by turning the paper over and using the backside with white or using the edge of paper, maybe, I don't know. When you gel print or when you use up your excess paint, sometimes you end up with white edges. I thought about putting something across there and then I ended up not doing it. Hope you guys are enjoying this series of snarky pages every day. If you are, please remember to give me a thumbs up, pin this on Pinterest, and subscribe or share it on Facebook. All those things help my channel and I'm always appreciative. So yeah, a little path I think is the last thing I put on there for my paper cutting collage weird house. Then my next thing is to use my fine tip white Posca pen. I actually got out a brand new fresh one from my drawer. And I'm putting lines around, illustration lines, but absolutely trying not to make them straight or make them perfect or anything. I'm intending them not to be straight or perfect at all. And that's trickier than you would imagine. It's hard to make something like that, just like not at all precise. At least for me, it is. I want to try to make things as perfect as possible, and this is the opposite of that. This is just being, free and just trying to hold the pen loosely and make it just crazy and not straight or anything. Then I got my printed saying out and I cut it up, decided where I was going to put it on the page, and then I thought I needed a little bit of black Posca pen as well. So I went over my illustration lines with the black, and yeah, still trying to make them silly and crazy and scribbly, not at all precise. Then I just glued on my words, trying to make them not straight because it looks like you meant it that way, right? If you make them wonky, you meant to do that. It's not that you didn't glue them straight, it's that you meant to do that. Well, in this case, I actually did mean to do it. And I just put some black lines around them real quick, and then I was done with day 9 of the hashtag event, AJ Snark Attack 2020. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye.